welcome to the channel. Today we're doing a little bit of maintenance, or I shouldn't say maintenance. We're completely renewing the rear suspension from an E28. So we're gonna turn this rusty bunch of crap into something nice and shiny and new again. So we are completely going to disassemble the trailing arms and the rear subframe. I'm gonna show you how to do it, and first of all I'm gonna show you all the tools that you will need. So not everything that is on here is completely essential, but it does really help to have all this stuff. So I'm gonna quickly go over it. A nice and big hammer, some pliers, a pulley puller, a big one, a 6mm Allen key, then just a small ratchet with a, what is it, 5mm Allen key, I guess, on it, or a 6. No, it's gonna be a 6. Then an extension, 14mm socket, big ratchet, metal wire brush to clean off the surfaces a little bit, a circlips plier, yeah, some extra lighting is always nice. An impact is also, I wouldn't say essential, but it really helps a lot. And also for the hub nut, we're gonna use a big impact like this that has a 1-inch connection. Then these are two big sockets. This one is a just one to hit with, or to pry. This is just a big one that I'm gonna use to hit the bearing out. This one is a 36mm, and this is what we need to remove the hub. So this is what we're working with. This is actually a rear trailing arm from an E24 635 CSI. I bought it like 3 years ago because I was planning on swapping my first E28 to disc brakes. It never happened, and this basically laid outside in the rain for the last 3 years. So that's why it looks like just a bunch of rust. The brake lines have already been removed, and also the little clips that slide on here. So that I won't show you, but it's really easy, so no panic there. So I'm gonna show you how we're gonna take this apart and basically go through the whole process of making this completely new again. I ordered a lot of parts, everything will be new on this car basically, and we're gonna start off by doing the rear axle. We're gonna start off with putting the whole trailing arm into the vise. So if you don't have a vise, it's not a huge issue, but it does help a lot just to be stable. To have a stable workpiece, I should say. Now we take the 36mm socket, and we're going to show you. This is the hub nut. So basically how this works is you have the outside flange where the disc brake is connected to and the wheel is connected to. That has a shaft that goes through a bearing that sits inside here. And then on the back side, or on the inside, you have this flange, and this flange is connected to the drive shaft that connects to the differential. And there you see that's a 36mm bolt, nut that we need to remove. So you need a big socket like this, and rather one with not too thick of sidewalls, because it still doesn't fit because of the protection that's in there to stop it from coming loose. So we're gonna take our hammer and just hammer this down so it's nice and snug on the nut. You don't have to be afraid you're not going to break it. Just like this. And then we take our 1-inch air gun, or impact I should say. And we rattle that guy, and we rattle him completely loose. So here we have it. So this is like the locking ring and our 36mm nut. So that's the first step. For the next step, we're going to remove this rear flange, and for that we need the pulley puller. So the pulley puller, and I use a piece of steel. That way I don't have to go too deep, or might even not reach it. So turn it out. So this is where I use the small effect for to speed things up a little bit. And when you put your pulley puller on this flange, you have to make sure that you put the hooks behind these parts where the bolts go through. Otherwise there's not really much to grab on. So you put the hooks behind these wider parts. And there she comes. This is the flange that we just removed. You see the threads right here. And these slide onto the bigger flange that's on the outside of the trailing arm. And this is where the drive shaft connects to. As you can see, this part here, this ring, it's not really a ring, but this is where the ABS sensor takes its measurement basically, or its signal, I should say. Okay, so next, this is what we have right now. So next up is slamming this thing down and out. Because of the flange on the other side being full, like not like this one, this has a hole in it, so we can't use the pulley puller for the other one. So we're just gonna hit it here with a hammer until it's out. So as you can see, this is the flange, no hole in it. It has the whole piece that goes through the bearing that you see right here. This is a part of the bearing. This always gets stuck on here, and we are going to remove this later. Now it's time to flip this thing and take out the bearing. I just said we're going to remove the bearing now, but I'm first going to remove all of the stuff from the handbrake. That way it's out of the way and we don't have to worry about it anymore. So how I usually go about this is I take a flathead screwdriver to one of the ends of a spring, and I either pry it in between so that it comes loose, and if that doesn't work, I will tap it through the hammer. So just like this, it came loose. The same with the other one. This is all going in the trash, so it doesn't really matter if something goes wrong with it. Okay, so that's the two springs removed. And now we have these little pressing clips that you have to push in and turn 90 degrees to make them come out. And that's why we have this little... That's why we have our little socket. Push it in and turn 90 degrees. If it didn't work, just try again, it will come loose. Just like that. As you can see, these pins. When you renew this, all of these are always new in the kit, so this is all for the trash. Now we can take out the brake shoes. Everything is super rusty. Make sure that if you are planning on reinstalling this, some of these parts you have to keep and restore, because don't think you can buy, or you can probably buy this from BMW, but they don't come with a kit. So these pieces, they're really stuck. So this is what I mean, this is like the self-adjuster. Make sure to keep that. Okay. And then we have our handbrake mechanism. The cable was already cut, so this makes this easier, but this is how it's installed, and there it goes already. So as you can see, it's just slid on like this and it pops out. This also you keep, and this is for the trash. Now we're gonna remove the brake dust shield. Now this is where it can get a little bit sketchy. So I'm gonna show you. So this plate is connected by two small bolts right here that have Allen holes in them, and then also through this bracket that keeps the handbrake in place. These are two 40mm bolts. It's a really odd number, I don't know why it's 14. But these, since they're quite big, they're easily to take out. But these little guys, they're really easy to strip or break. So I'm gonna first spray a little bit of penetrating fluid on them, and then we're gonna take our Allen key and really tap it nice and deep in there and gently try if we can get it loose. On the other trailing arm I already did, they did come loose, But yeah, you have to be careful. I'm already also going to spray a little bit on this bearing or these circlips, because these can get really stuck in there as well. We take our Allen key, nice long one, so that you have a good feeling of what you're doing. So you put it into the hole, and then it's best to take a hammer and really tap it in as deep as it will go. That way, you know, it will grab it good. Something like that. Now I'm very gently going to see if it wants to move. You have to really keep an eye on it. If you see that it's starting to strip, then immediately stop. Alright, this one broke loose. So this, we're good. Always happy when these come out, because it can be a real pain in the ass. Take it out. This is also going in the trash. I'm not reusing this. Obviously, it would be a little bit silly to reuse these old rusty bolts. That would be asking for trouble. Okay, so there's one, and the other one is right here. What can also help to break these kind of bolts loose is to tap on them with a hammer, like from the top or with an extension really hard. That might break a little bit of the rust loose. Alright, this one comes out as well. So that's very nice. Next up are the two 14mm bolts. The chances of stripping these or breaking these is a lot smaller, but still you have to be careful. Let's see. Okay. And number two. So now the dust shield is loose, and we're just gonna tap it with a hammer. There we go. So yeah, this is for the trash. And this part we're gonna keep. We're gonna sandblast this and probably galvanize it or something like that. So now we have this. So we're almost getting there. We're now going to remove this annoying piece of cable. So these get stuck in here usually because it's just rusty. Let's see if we can just pry this out. There we go. This is also for the trash. So I bought new handbrake cables. They haven't come in yet, or I don't know, I've not been at home for a few days. They cost €2 a piece. So I paid €4.50 for two brand new handbrake cables. I'm curious to see how they do. Next up is smacking this bearing out of there. Well, not immediately. We're first going to remove the circlips, which has proven to be difficult. So the circlips is usually also rusted inside of the hub. And so what I always first do is just smack on it a little bit with a hammer. That might break some of the rust loose. See if I can get it loose with our circlips pliers. Stick them into the holes and let's see if something happens. Yeah, no. They're not going to give up themselves that easily. Ow. So I'm gonna do the same as with the other one. So I'm gonna heat up this edge a little bit with a torch. That really helps. Heat always helps with stuff that is rusted. Now I'm gonna try and tap one of the ends of the circlips to see if I can maybe rotate it and that way break it loose. With this. Oh, there she comes. Okay, but the bottom is coming out. So now I'm gonna try and pry in between. So with the circlips plier, pry it up until I can get a screwdriver in there. Just like this. And then I'm gonna use another flathead and basically work my way around and make the circlips loose, so it's not stuck anymore in the rust. Don't know if you can see very well. Put some extra light on it. As you can see, it's quite deep in there. It's really strong circlips as well, which of course doesn't help. So this is always quite a battle, but I'm gonna win this battle. Okay, she's almost out. Like this, and then just continue it like this. It's a bit of work, but you'll see what works and what doesn't. Just prying around. And there she comes. It's quite thick. It's really strong. So I'm just going to keep this for now because it's still reusable. But if I can find a new, I'm probably going to buy new ones. I put the trailing arm back into the vise, and so now the bearing is free. So it was installed from the outside in, so we have to remove it to the outside. Now. You could use a puller for this if you have a specialized puller to pull bearings. I don't have that, so that's where the big socket comes in. Basically goes in there. I could even use a bigger one, and I'm just going to smack it out with the hammer downwards until everything is out. So that's the inner part of the bearing where all the balls go in. Completely fell apart, so it's full of metal balls now on the ground. Just one more tap. So this is the bearing that came out. It's a really big bearing, really strong. So, but yeah, this one's for the trash. So by now, if your work spot doesn't look like this, then I don't know. So we're almost there. So this part, as you can see, it's completely empty. Just need to clean it out a little bit. But ready for a new bearing. Well, not immediately, but. And then we're gonna move on to these guys in the back, which are a real pain in the ass. Now, I told you that from these flanges, we still have to remove this part of the bearing. So we're gonna see how well it's gonna go. Sometimes with just a little bit of force. I'm gonna try just prying it off like this and tapping it. Maybe that works. If that doesn't work, there's basically no place for a puller. So I think I'm gonna put the torch on it to make this expand, and then it will probably come off. Come off? Come out. Come off. So let's see. So as you can see, that was really tight. So this is what we have now. Sorry for the noise, but the heater is on. So we have our hubs, or our flanges I should say. These are the parts. This will get powder coated. This I'm going to sandblast together with all the hardware that I'm not throwing out. I'm going to sandblast it, and then I'm going to get it galvanized so that it stays nice for at least, well, some time. I hope a couple of years, and then everything will look as new when it goes back together. Now, last thing we have to do is take these guys out. We're gonna do that in the press, but it's a two-man job because it's really an inconvenient piece to hold. And then we have the subframe itself. We only have to take out the big bushes, and that we're gonna do tomorrow with the acetylene torch. Just burn them completely out. So what we're doing here, we're burning out these rubber bushings in the trailing arms. So I use a big acetylene torch and basically just fire it up.
Want a chocolate?
Oh!
Any good chocolate?
Oh, chocolate!
Oh, you can't have it.
Oh! Oh! So that's that with the acetylene torch. And just let the rubber burn. You have to heat it for like 5 minutes or something. And then it just starts burning away from itself. And then you just leave it burning until it goes out. And then you can literally just push whatever is left out with, well, not gonna use your finger, but with a screwdriver. I'll show you when I heat it up on the other side. Okay, so while our rear subframe outside is a little bit burning, we're gonna move on to the trailing arms. So this one I did already. So we have to press out these these bushings at the end. They are really stuck in there. So they are, I'm gonna show you, I'll throw it away. So they are with, not just rubber, they have a metal outer ring. And they're really tight in there. So you really need a press for this. So here's the other one. And like a press like this, it works very nicely. So basically, it's a bit inconvenient because of the way this thing is designed. But I found that if you take and try and show you, so this I put on the bottom. This is just big enough so that the outer edge of the rear trailing arm sits on there and the bushing can go in. And then I've taken a socket that is about the size of the bushing, like this, and then I press it downwards. So it's a bit inconvenient with just two hands, but I'll show you how I do it. Alright, let's see. Oof. That was 7 tons. Jesus. But it is coming out, which is nice. Should be almost there. Ta-da! Right, trailing arms are done. Now let's have a look at the subframe. So currently at Munich Icons. If you ever need E28 race parts, hit us up. Alright, it's finally stopped burning. Now let's see if there's a metal ring in there or not, I'm not sure. So after it stopped burning, I put it in the vise. And it was just the outer metal ring. I should have showed you, but I wanted to try. And basically it was so rusty that when I hit it with a screwdriver, it just fell apart and it came out. So that's why I'm just gonna try on this side, see if I can get it out without burning the rubber. Okay, here we are. So quite a bit of rubber left. I put it out a little bit because I want to get on with it. So let's see. So with the other one, I just tapped the other ring and it fell apart. Looks like this is gonna do the same thing, which is nice. So just tap it out and there it comes. Alright. Good thing I cleaned this room an hour ago. And there we have it. You can see this is what came out. Completely rotten. Okay, so now this subframe is ready to get sent off, and there it will be sandblasted and powder coated. And the people over there, they know what they should powder coat and what not. So we're done here, and I'll get back to you guys when all this stuff is ready to be assembled again.